and they don't, they don't do well in the debates and things like that. So people aren't going to vote for them. And Trump just, he's taking advantage of quite a bit of animosity in this country. But I don't think he's going to get elected. I don't think he's even going to get the nomination.
Well, they didn't think he would get so far. I mean, we had to remember that.
That's true, but
they thought a month and he would be gone, and it's how many months later,
Well, that's the first thing you don't do is you don't challenge Donald Trump to do something, because he will come back at you, and he'll just do it just to prove that he can do it. That's all with Donald Trump. He just wants to show he can do it. Once the Republicans say we're not going to support Donald Trump, or once he's not elected as their representative, he'll go away and do something else.
I don't know. He's such a narcissist. And there's that executive decision that can be used that I'm sure he's eyeing. Things he thinks should be done. And if the country doesn't think so, or maybe they think so, whatever the case may be.
I don't know. We don't have a good choice right now.
Well, I'm a Democrat. I'm a staunch Democrat. I'm active in my party. And there's no way in hell I'm going to vote for Clinton. And there's a lot of people just like me that will not vote for Clinton. Like, we want a change, a real change. We're tired of the same old regime. And Bernie Sanders, even though he's been there forever, has never really been a part of the national platform, so to speak. And
Bernie
it's refreshing
Sanders.
to have him there.
Yeah, it's refreshing. He's charming. He's unique. He's a character, but a president, I think he'd be worse than Trump. At least with Trump,
Really?
Well, here's what I think. I think, and this is what I've been saying the whole time to anybody I discuss this with, is that Trump he'll find the best of the best. He'll find people who know what to do. He'll find people who are who are qualified to run the government, and then he's just going to be little more than a figurehead. He'll flex muscle when needs be, but when it comes down to it, Trump didn't get this rich on his own. He got rich with help. He got rich by recruiting that talent.
He wasn't poor. Don't think that he was poor in the beginning.
No, he wasn't poor. No.
And he made his money on REITs, which is a real estate investment trust. That's one thing you could take money out of and not have to pay taxes on. Even so, he went bankrupt. But he took risks, and I guess I can't fault him for taking a risk.
He went bankrupt. His businesses went bankrupt 4 times. I don't think he ever went personally bankrupt.
Him at the helm.
Mm-hmm.
You have to understand that he was in charge of the business. So the buck stops there. So either personally or professionally, when you go bankrupt and it's your business and no one else is running it, you need to look at that person. I mean, people aren't thinking. People are not thinking. And they haven't thought for quite some time.
Okay.
Now, one thing I like about Bernie, one thing I like about Bernie is that he was against the deregulation of Wall Street. He was one of the few people that stood up in Congress and talked and spoke against it. He was one of the few people. So, I mean, we need to look at that. He has his head on straight. Now, go ahead. I'm concluding.
With Bernie Sanders, my personal feeling, the reason I wouldn't vote for him is because he's an idealist in the vein of Obama, only he's really kind of farther than Obama to the left side. And he does the same thing Obama does. He talks about, we need to change this. We need to change this. Well, how are you going to do that, Bernie? You need money. We're in a trillions and trillions dollar deficit. You need money to do this. How do you plan to pay for all of these ambitious projects that you plan to put into place? And I don't think I've heard a legitimate answer from Bernie Sanders on how he plans to pay for this. It would be let's run up the debt even more and we'll get ourselves in a lot more trouble. Now, what I was saying earlier is that Trump, He went bankrupt not because his businesses were failing, it's because they were on the brink of failure. And the bankruptcy laws in the United States are very,
Oh, they
very
let you
forgiving.
reorganize. Yes.
Forgiving. They're very forgiving. And Donald Trump, using his brain, thought, I'll just file for bankruptcy. I've known people who filed for bankruptcy numerous times, and they live in beautiful homes, and
Of
they drive
course.
expensive cars, and bankruptcy is
But some of
not
his companies went into receivership. That's
Mhm.
really bad. I mean, that
that
is freaking bad. And
that is a strategy. That is somebody who doesn't
strategy, a
care.
receivership is not good.
Well, I mean, that's somebody who doesn't care. He looks at the options and he goes, well, what do we have to do? What do I have to do to go on to my next endeavor? What do I have to do to
Hmm.
move on from this? I'm
And
not
he
going
had
to keep.
friends. He had friends because he grew up with his daddy paving the way. He grew up in New
Mhm,
York. He
mhm.
made a lot of contacts and they bailed him out. A lot of people don't have friends like that. Not a
Right,
lot of people. But I
right.
will say about the Bernie thing, you asked a good question. How is Bernie going to pay for all this? I have
Bernie's
not
not.
looked at the plan, but just this weekend they had put a tax plan on his website. Now, I don't know if this is his final tax plan or, how he intends on paying for all this. He
Mm,
also plans to get rid of a lot of the corporate welfare,
mm.
making cuts in the corporate welfare.
Oh, you mean like making it harder on businesses with the increasing minimum wage across the country
No,
to
I'm talking
operate?
about Wall Street, talking about
Okay.
regulating derivatives.
Oh,
I'm talking
banks. Yeah.
about, all these freebies where they basically do not have to pay any taxes at all whatsoever will be gone. The subsidies to the oil companies will be gone,
Mm,
and that will be healthy for America,
but that
and
is.
borrowing from Trump's idea of taxing the imports that are coming in. If
Mhm.
I mean, because China is laughing at us. I mean, Donald Trump's absolutely right. They're laughing all the way to the bank because they're keeping our money. It's
China's market
jaw
is in
dropping.
China's market is in terrible shape right now. Their market started to collapse and ours is starting to fall apart. So yeah, it's there. It's we need China. Okay, we are too invested in China and we have too much money over there to just say to hell with them.
No,
It
they have
doesn't
too
work
much
that way
money in our country is the problem.
as
They
well.
have
Yeah.
so much money invested in. They own a lot of our land,
Mhm.
and that's a problem. And
Well,
we
yeah.
allowed it.
But what are you going to do? I mean, there's this relationship between the United States and China that is slightly contentious.
Hmm.
That is that they help each other. Yet, I mean, I'm in the steel industry, and
Okay.
right now there are numerous antitrust lawsuits going through the process right now in regards to Chinese and Korean material, because the thought is that the Chinese and the Koreans flooded the market with so much low cost material that it drove the steel industry down, and it's making it hard for steel mills in the United States to survive. Therefore, if the steel mills can't survive in the United States, then the distributors that rely on them cannot survive. Then, I mean, the whole house of cards falls apart. That's the theory. And but people want cheaper material. That's the name of the game right now. It's not about there's not really a feeling that domestic material is any better than import material, and honestly,
Hmm.
it's not. It all has to it all has to cert to a particular it all has to certify to a particular set of parameters. So the bottom line is that yeah, China is a necessary evil. And if Donald Trump thinks for 1 minute that he's going to, if in the unlikely event he does win the presidency, barnstorm into the White House and have his way with everything, just look at Barack Obama before his first briefing in office and after. He sure backed off that Guantanamo thing, didn't he? And now the only
Well,
time he's
once he
mentioned
learned
it,
more about it and learned all
yeah,
the details, then his position changed, and that's something I think is healthy.
Oh, at the
And
State
we
of the
learn more
Union.
about the situation, to not stay with a really not a good plan. I mean, it just was not a good plan. It wasn't
Right, right.
feasible because he could not send the prisoners anywhere. There wasn't a country that would take one of them.
Well, there's an
And
ocean.
now they found more people. Some of the people that were in there were innocent, but now they had become hardened because of the foul treatment they had received.
Yeah, and
We
that's
made an
another.
enemy. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's another thing. I mean, none of these people, none of these people who are running for office would I even be the slightest bit confident in as a commander in chief. You
One
know,
I like is O'Malley. I like O'Malley because he seems more in the center. He knows how to, you know, uh,
he
balance
knows
the
how to.
budget.
Yeah, but he
I
won't
was
get
trying to think
elected.
the phrase. I couldn't think of the phrase. There's
Yeah,
a lot
but
of things I like about him. He's from Maryland. He's a governor. He knows how to delegate, and he's had to handle some tough situations.
right, but he's not a Clinton.
Clinton doesn't prove herself. She's got the trust factor that there's no trust in her. And then Bernie, you got the age, and he's a little bit of a dreamer, but I think he does that to pull people in.
You know who he
No,
reminds me of?
who?
He reminds me of Dr. Emmett Brown from the Back to the Future series,
Oh my
just with
gosh,
his
I thought
wild
that
hair,
before his
with his
appearance.
with his wild hair and his wild ideas. Great Scott, we have to balance the budget. It's just, as brilliant as Bernie Sanders may be, I would not trust Dr. Emmett Brown to run my country, and I would not trust Bernie Sanders to run it either, because, okay. All right, let me lay out a scenario for you. It'll be each of the front runners who get elected, or just
Yes.
if they get elected. Okay, check this out. Okay, say Hillary Clinton gets elected.
Mm-hmm.
The country will continue to run the way it's run because Clinton is a career politician. She has her husband, and she will have a cabinet that will make sure it will run the way it's run. The world will not end. The world will continue to spin. The United States will continue down the path that Barack Obama has set forth, which, when you think about it, lower gas prices, stock market was going crazy for a while. Everybody was happy. Jobs are there. Barack Obama's really done a lot of what he promised, but he will go down as one of the worst presidents that we've ever had. And I
Oh,
think
I'm mistaken there.
that's a shame. Well, I mean, depending on which history
The
book you
long
read.
range, I think he'll be seen as one of the better presidents
Well,
because
so
of
will
the health care.
So will George W. Bush. George W. Bush.
No, he almost
will,
ruined, in my opinion, he almost ruined our nation. It sounds like we have some differences, and I think that's healthy.
Yes, we
For
do. We have
people to talk about their differences, and I think the differences is what makes our country great. And I'd like to
exactly.
have a president that can be respectful of differences, and it seems like Donald Trump cannot manage that. Who else on the Republican ticket do you like? Do you like Rubio?
I like Rubio. I think Rubio. I think he can play the role of president. And what I mean by that is he will not be a trailblazer. He won't be somebody who is going to rock the boat too much, but he'll put forth popular ideas. He'll put forth ideas that are good. And, at most he'll have some, he'll have some support from the Democratic Party, I believe. I think Rubio's a good second choice, but
He's a crossover for Democrats and independents come over, I think.
right, yeah, absolutely. He's not too crazy right. He's not a left sympathizer. I mean, if you've heard his viewpoints on immigration, I mean, it's cringeworthy being someone who lives in California where you can't say anything about anybody to hear someone speak so frankly about immigration policy like Ted Cruz. Now,
Oh, I feel for you. I would not be able to live in California. There's no way.
not a lot of people would, because the thing of it is you have to deal with you have to be very sensitive of your surroundings and very sensitive of you can still have your thoughts, but California is so large that there are so many different pockets of people. And if you are in the wrong pocket,